Good morning, everybody. It's Eric from Thomas Hills Ranch, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about adapting your plan and overcoming apparent failures. I'll call them apparent failures, not failures. This morning I moved the goats, and they were on a paddock for about 3 days, and they were doing real well. I knew the pasture had enough, and so I wanted to move them over. So I moved them over. The next paddock was already set up. They seemed happy in there, and then I started to set up the next pasture, which I would move them into in a couple of days. And while I was in there, of course, one of the goats decided she saw something better on my side of the fence, so she jumped over. I pushed her back, not happily, but I pushed her back. And then I was in a situation which I knew I'd be in. I couldn't move. I had to stand there. I don't know what it was. I don't know whether it was an odd corner where they felt like there was no way out, or they felt like it was an obvious flow into the next paddock, or they were just hungry. Soon there were 3 goats out. Then there were 12 goats out. Then there were more. Then there were only 3 in the paddock. And eventually Teddy decided he wanted to be with the goats because that's his place. I can't really knock him for that. He did go under the fence, but I can't really be upset at him for that. Luna, on the other hand, stayed with the other 3 goats. She did not want to handle the wire. The wire was charged. I did check it, and it was anywhere between 10 to 12,000 volts of electricity. And it was extremely frustrating. It was one of those mornings where, you know, just kind of brings you to tears. And thinking back, reflecting on it, it was kind of, I relate it to basic training. You know, no matter what you do in basic training, you're going to be wrong. You can have the perfect foot locker, the perfect made bed, the perfect marching. It doesn't matter. They're looking for something wrong. They're trying to break you down. And sometimes these days, moving goats with a 2-wire just seems like they just want to break you down. Nothing you're gonna do is gonna be right. I obviously failed at communicating my plan to the goats because my plan is perfect, and I'll show you here. I say that in jest. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Hopefully you can see it. Let me mess with the camera here. Here we go. So I've got these little paddocks divvied up, and as you can see, it's perfect. It's little squares, and there should be plenty of forage in there for 24 goats. And I'm sure there is plenty of forage there for 24 goats, but sometimes it's not what they want. This morning, I was going from this paddock over to this paddock. Right along here there is a tree line. I don't know if you can see it, but obviously in here they were much more excited about getting into there because there was more. I guess there was more grass. Really, is what it was. It wasn't anything special in the paddock, and so I really can't figure out. All I can guess on is that they know what they're doing. They know what they need. They know what their nourishment requirements are. Again, it's incredibly discouraging. I felt like it was you know, one of those mornings where why am I laying out wire for goats when it's merely a suggestion for them. And it really is. I have to resign myself. It's kind of that balance that I think I've talked about in one of the blogs. I've got one of the guys I've been reading is Alan Savory, his holistic research management, and he's all about bringing land back and using rotational grazing. Well, he doesn't call it rotational grazing, but using whether it be mob grazing or some of these techniques to really beat up the land, to put the carbon back in the land, to get the water back, and to really make your land a lot healthier. There is a balance with that with the health of the animals, because you can do Alan Savory's method perfectly, and I think even he realizes that when you do it with cattle, the cattle are not going to thrive because you're forcing them to eat everything in the pasture, or they don't get to go pick and choose. The other side of that is a continuous grazing, where you give the animals the whole pasture and you give it to them all year, and they just roam around and they pick all the good stuff. And what happens there is they pick up all the candy, and then they keep going back to the candy. As soon as it grows, it keeps going back, and eventually the roots of the candy die. And eventually what you're left with is a bunch of, I imagine what I'm left with back there is a whole lot of thorns and a whole lot of stuff that cattle won't eat. My goats, on the other hand, I've been watching them the past 3 days, and they are eating. They're finding those the runners of those little thorny plants. They're down in the grass, and they'll stick their nose down in the grass, and they come up with these tendrils. I don't know if I'm using the right word, but they come up with these stringers, and only a couple of leaves on them, but they're munching on them. They like the new growth of the thorns. They also eat grass. They eat a little of everything. It's kind of like a buffet. But I think it's not Alan Savory, but Joel Salatin, who talks about pigs and their pigginess. He says, you allow them to have their pigginess. Really their nature, their natural instincts. I've talked a little bit about it with their livestock guard dogs. They have natural instincts, and they're hopefully going to follow those. Goats have natural instincts too, and their natural instinct is not to be in an enclosed space. It's not to be in electric wire. And given the opportunity, given the motivation, I think they would. I think, obviously, it's proven, I've proven, that at least my 24 goats, well, 21 since 3 stayed in the electric fence, my 21 goats would rather have that luscious food rather than the electric fence. Honestly, I was at one of those points where I just thought, I'm going to throw in the towel. I'll either sell all the goats or put them in the freezer. And it was incredibly discouraging again. And luckily, I'm blessed with an amazing wife who kind of talked me off the ledge there. I also learned a lot. I learned a lot from being in the military. One of the things they do teach is resilience. We do joke about it a lot because you have your yearly resiliency training. And yeah, it's frustrating as you're going through it, but when you're dealing with situations like this where I obviously have no control and I'm having to adapt to my plan and overcome these obstacles immediately, and it's not people's lives, but it is animals' lives. I do care about my animals. I do want to keep them safe. I do feel I know what's best for them. We'll find out if that's true. We just lost. We had 2 unexpected kids, and we lost both of them. They were born in December. I didn't plan on them being born in December. I bought these goats, and they were pregnant. I didn't know when they'd be due. So I'm going to have to adapt my plan for that. And what do I do when the next one comes? Maybe the next one will come in late December or January during a snowstorm. You never know. So I have to have a plan for that. So one of the things I did take from my military upbringing, let's say, is exercise. And I just get this funk feeling when you're out of, everything seems out of control. You're trying to balance plates and they just keep falling and crashing all over the place. I get that feeling like I just need to run. And it's kind of a fight or flight feeling almost, but I did. And I felt a lot better. I just, that's why I love running. I just got my sneakers on, and I went out and run, and it helped me clear my head, helped me feel a little fresher. You got to have something. If you're going to go into this line of work, actually any line of work, you have to have something that can help you get that release. It is really important to build that resiliency, especially with the last year, what everybody's had to deal with. You have to have something to make you resilient. So anyway, I am going to adapt my plan. I honestly don't know how yet. I have some ideas. Either give them bigger paddocks. I initially thought about giving them the whole length of that corridor all the way across and just walking my wires like that. And I don't know if that'll work. I don't know if that'll keep them in. The other plan is just to give them that quarter of the land, and instead of doing these small paddocks like the Alan Savory says, maybe I just have to resort to giving them larger, rotating my land in 4 ways, and then me pushing them around inside that paddock to where I want them. I don't know how I'm going to do that. That's actually what Alan Savory does. He works in Africa a lot. And basically he imitates the predator, or the workers there imitate the predators, and they move, they force those animals to move, so they can't just be comfortable in one spot depleting the land. Anyway, there's a lot going on here, And again, I'm just, I still feel incredibly blessed to be here. I'm blessed with, like I say, my incredible wife, great family. And I did not choose an easy industry to be in. Anyone who thinks that farming or ranching is easy or raising animals is easy, this is not, I imagine this is not just because it's goats. I've watched people with pigs. I've watched people with all these different types of animals. And a lot of what you see on the internet are the happy days, or the, oh, look how great I'm doing. And I am doing this on purpose. I did not want to just share my happy days. I will share those with you. I'm just waiting for them to happen. But anyway, I think everybody should know. Everybody should see both sides of it before you choose to get into this kind of venture. Because I know a lot of people, it is popular to get a homestead and just have your, you know, these bright eyes go into it, you know, thinking it's all unicorns and rainbows. And I don't want to deter you. I just want people to go into it with eyes wide open. So anyway, hopefully this is doing that for you. Hopefully this is a tool, not just me embarrassing myself in video media, whatever we call it these days. Hopefully you can actually use this and get something from it. Anyway, here I guess it's me logging off. God bless. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.